This is the plaintiff, Madeline. She says she purchased a horse from the defendant, and the woman told her it was only 8 years old when it turns out it was 22 years old. The poor thing also has a disease. She may have to euthanize it and is here suing the defendant for the $2,000 she's now owed. This is the defendant, Nicole. She says she rescued this horse from a kill center and nursed it back to health. She told the plaintiff all about this horse's history. She inspected the horse, and she made the decision to buy him. She's accused of horsing around.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Madeline, you are suing Ms. Nicole's horse ranch for $2,000 that you say you need to be recompensed, the value of a horse that you bought from her plus your expenses. Tell me what happened.
That's correct, Your Honor. I purchased this horse from Miss Nicole on March 31st.
Okay.
About 6 to 12 hours after we got him home, he became lame. We determined that it was probably because of his hooves. The defendant claimed that this horse was a healthy horse, that he was 8 years old.
Let me see the ad. Very patient and tolerant gelding. Bear is 8 years old and stands at 15. What does HH mean?
Hands high.
Hands high. Okay. He is slow and easy. Excellent babysitter horse or great trail horse. No bad habits. Absolute sweetheart. He needs a loving home and a sweet family. All right. So, Ms. Madeline, tell me what happens. Well, you go over there and what do? You had wanted to go with a friend who knows a lot about horses, but she was unavailable. You went anyway. And then what happens?
Correct. I got there to the horse. The horse did seem to be very frail. He appeared as if he needed more weight put on him. However, he was very sweet. I did ride him at that time. I also FaceTimed my friend to let her take a look at the horse as well. She also said, similar to what I had said, that he just needed to eat more. But then again, once I got him home is when he became lame, and I was in contact with Miss Nicole.
Can you explain what you mean by lame? Specifically, what behavior was the horse exhibiting?
Yes, ma'am. He was limping on his left side. He also was laying down quite a bit that following morning. The following morning, once we got him home, we had a hard time getting him to stand, and it's pretty unusual for a horse to lay down. So we knew that something was going on. It just took us a couple of days to really pinpoint exactly what it was. We did note that both of his left hooves had abscesses. There appears to be a crack along the top part of his hoof, and that is where one of the abscesses ruptured from.
All right, so the vet comes to the horse.
No,
right?
ma'am. I had the farrier.
Right? Okay.
I had the farrier come out first to check his hooves. The farrier came out Thursday. He trimmed his hooves and identified that both right hooves had previous abscesses that had not healed correctly. So I've also began treating those by soaking them. And then, of course, the other two on his left side had both ruptured and were in the healing process.
Okay. Then the vet sees the horse, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. I took him to the vet on Friday.
Okay. And what happens?
The vet walks out, and her first words were that this horse has Cushing's disease.
Which is what?
It has to do with the adrenal glands. He produces too much cortisol. It's the overproduction of cortisol.
And what's the treatment if that's true?
There is a medication that they can prescribe for him called Presend, which would be 1 tablet a day for the rest of his life, and it's $80 a month to treat with. It doesn't guarantee a good quality of life, but it can improve their quality of life.
Okay. So what did you call the horse? Bear? You kept the same name?
Yes, ma'am. I did keep the same name, Bear.
How did you get Bear, Ms. Nicole?
I take in him specifically. He came from a horse auction. I outbid kill buyers. He would end up being slaughtered in Mexico if I wouldn't have taken him in. I do this with multiple horses and then try to find them a loving home so that they don't end up down the slaughter pipeline or in traders' hands where they're just going from cell barn to cell barn.
Okay.
And being malnourished.
And did you tell the plaintiff that? That
Yes,
was a
ma'am.
rescue horse, and you had the horse how long?
A week and a half. We got him on May 22nd. She come on May 31st.
And did she
on
know how
Memorial
long
Day.
you'd had the horse, or no?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that it was a rescue horse, Ms. Madeline?
Yes, Your Honor, I
And
did.
did you
I
know
was
that she'd
also-
only had the horse for a week?
I was told 2 weeks.
Okay. But it wasn't like her horse that she knew well or anything else. All right. Did you have the horse seen by a vet during the week that you had, or 2 weeks that you had him?
No, Your Honor, we didn't. Some like him, yes, he was malnourished, just as she said, and I told her this before she even come to see him. Horses like him, when they're really gentle, I can rehome them and find them a good home whenever they seem perfectly healthy. And a lot of them, they're just thin, and I can keep the adoption fees low if I'm not racking up a bunch of vet bills.
No, I understand that.
Had he have given us any symptoms of anything, he never limped, he was never tender in his feet, then yes, he would have seen a vet.
Well, I'm pretty sure he would have, because I don't think you do this as a business. I think you do this as a labor of love. So I can't imagine that you would allow the horse to be in pain if the horse had exhibited anything in front of you. But one of the things that you say in your ad is that the horse is 8 years old, right? Where did you get that from?
During the auction, whenever I bought him, they said that he is 8 years old.
584, number 584, coming in, 8-year-old baby Gilbert.
And really, to me, he did look older, and so I told her 8 to 10.
Now, Ms. Madeline, according to you, the vet says the horse is much older?
Yes, ma'am. According to my vet and a farrier that was also not a farrier, an equine dentist that was also at the vet hospital when I took him, they both reviewed his teeth and said that he was at least 22 years old, if not older.
Okay, and do you have that in writing anywhere?
I have that on one of the receipts that I received from the vet. Which one is it? It's the same receipt where she recommends euthanasia under his age.
Buying a horse in Texas is not the same as buying a dog that has certain rules and regulations that govern it. What you're governed by is deceptive practices. So it has to be fraud on her part. She has to have lied about something to you deliberately in order to sell it to you. What is it? Because in other words, there's no return policy on this. You have to be, the only way you would be entitled to your money back is if you can show me she lied. What did she lie about? She thought the horse was 8 because that's what she was told. She told you she'd only had it for a week. She told you it was a rescue. You know, what did she lie to you about, Ms. Madeline?
Specifically the age and the health of the horse.
But you understand what the difference between a lie and inaccurate information is. She would have to have known the horse wasn't 8. And I don't see that she lied about anything. It's not like you can't see the hooves. She sees the same thing you saw and thought it was fine. So unless you're going to show me that, you know, your vet happens to be her vet and the vet told her that the horse had, you know, a terrible disease and abscesses and everything else, and so you can show me she was on notice of something, how is it that I'm going to look at her and say that was a deceptive practice and you defrauded her and you owe her back her money? I really can't. I really can't. This is an expensive hobby, pastime,
Right.
passion. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So the defendant prevails. The plaintiff does not get her $2,000 back. Madeline, let me ask you, how do you feel about the judge's verdict? What are you thinking right now?
It is what it is. I just have to take care of him now and hopefully nurse him back to health.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things you're going to do with the horse is take care of it, nurse it back to health, and hopefully, you know, have him for a long time, right? He can be a family pet. Nicole, you okay with the outcome? I'm sure you are, and I know you didn't intend to cheat her in any way, did you?
Absolutely. Yep. I'm trying to do a good service to these horses, and
well, it's a good service you're doing. Good for you.
So, Doug, this is interesting. This was an as-is sale, and the judge said, look, there was no fraud here. That's the only way of undoing this deal, because the defendant had a good faith belief that the horse was around 8 years old based on what the defendant was told. If there were a warranty, a contract that specified the horse is a certain age, then it would be a different story. That doesn't exist. As-is sale, that's why the defendant won.
Do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens? Well, I'm going to ask you the same question, but by way of background, you and I went stargazing in a really cool place,
Jackson Hole, Wyoming,
right?
in the Grand Tetons.
That was amazing.
Deep in the Grand Tetons.
Right, and there was a guy who went with us who was an astrophysicist or something, and showed us some amazing stuff. And in the middle of the night, we saw this weird chain of lights going across.
It's like a diamond necklace going across the sky.
And we were sitting there going, "Oh, the visitors are here," right? and it turned out it was the SpaceX satellite that had just gone up.
What's it called? The Elon Musk new satellite thing. So the coolest thing I saw was actually man-made. It was but it was freaking everybody out there for a moment.
But we were talking that night about aliens and whether we believed in aliens. And my take on it is, I'm a skeptic. We haven't been visited as far as we know.
Our children really want there to be aliens.
I know, but
I was kind of surprised to hear them talking about that. And a lot of it has to do with the recent declassification of a lot of things that, and my children are conspiracy theorists to the hilt.
Right, I got an answer to that too. I did have a top secret and an SCI clearance for years. And people leak.
Yeah, and government can't keep a secret.
And especially when there's money potentially involved. The idea that nobody had loose lips since like 1951, that they're 1952, that they've had all this, they've got an alien spacecraft. It's hard for me to buy it. What about you? You believe or you don't?
I don't know. I have so many real life, right here, right now problems that I never really ponder that. You know?
You have time for that?
I have time for that.
Oh, I got plenty of time for that.